Do you have a dream or a challenge that feels so big it seems impossible? Or maybe you've been praying for something, but you're not sure how to hold on to faith when the answer feels so far away. Well, that's where today's book, The Circle Maker by Mark Batterson, comes in, which is one of the 25 books that have changed my life. This book has been so meaningful to me. So meaningful that I actually read it every year between Christmas and New Year's, and I've done that for the last decade. It's really become more of a tradition that I use to reflect on the past year, to dream about the year ahead, and to draw circles in prayer around the things that matter the most. Now, the big idea in the Circle Maker is that bold prayers honor God, and God honors bold prayers. Mark challenges us to pray with boldness and persistence, and to dream big dreams, and also to trust that God can do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine. And Mark just doesn't talk theory either. I love how he gives us example after example of how God has moved in a mighty way in his life and in the life of his church. The book actually begins with a story of Honi, a Jewish sage from the first century who's famous for drawing a circle, standing in it, and praying for rain during a devastating drought. He told God that he wouldn't leave the circle until his prayer was answered, and it was. One of my favorite moments in the introduction to the story is when it starts to drizzle. And Honi says, "For not such rain have I prayed." That line gets me every time because the rain was for the people that were thirsty in the drought. And the story outlines the foundational question that the book asks: what circles of prayer are you willing to draw in your life? Now back for a moment to how it fits into my routine. There's something about that time of year, that week between Christmas and New Year's, that makes this book especially meaningful to me. And it's probably because it's a time of gratitude as I look back on the blessings and the lessons of the past year. And also it's a season of hope as I begin to dream and pray for the year ahead. But each year, as I pick this book up, it's a reminder to dream bigger, to pray bolder, and to trust deeper. Because I know God wants to do something new in me and through me. It's also allowing me a little bit of a time to look back and see his fingerprint on the previous year, and then to reset my faith, to see that there's a chance to grow in new promises and to align my goals with his plans. A funny story that I'll share with you before I get into the lessons of the book is after the third year of reading it in a row, my goal was to keep the same copy each year so that I could highlight in it, write in the margins, kind of revisit it. But a friend of mine asked me if he could borrow the copy. I thought, you know what, I don't need this until next Christmas, so I let him borrow it that year. And it got left on an Amtrak train. But don't worry, I went and bought a fresh copy, and this one has been going for 6 years strong. You can even see the coffee stains from where my daughter accidentally spilled it on the sides. But that taught me a valuable lesson too. If you love a book, have a couple extra copies on your bookshelf as your lending copies. But let me take a moment and share a few takeaways from me from the 3 big lessons in the book and how they changed my life and my perspective over the years. The first call is to dream big. In the book, Mark Batterson challenges us to stop limiting what we believe God can do. He writes, if your prayers aren't impossible to you, then they're insulting to God. This line changed the way that I think about prayer. Too many times I let my limited dreams hinder me based on what I think I can do. But over the last 10 years, I've seen it's very little about my ability and more about my availability for God to use me in a certain season. And it's challenged me to dream bigger dreams. Now, the second lesson is to pray hard. Mark's story and many of the other ones he includes in here are examples of the power of persistent prayer. It's not just about asking once and then moving on. It's about circling your dreams and your challenges and your relationships in your prayer life daily. And then we have to trust that God hears us even when the answers take time. Now, the third lesson is we must think long. Mark reminds us that God's timeline is often longer than ours. And bold prayers don't always see immediate results. But what they do is they plant seeds that grow into God's promises in his perfect timing. But I think if you could sit down and talk with me through stories over the last decade, you would see dreams that are stretched. You'd see hard moments of prayer, and you would see long thinking. And that's because I found this book when I did, and it has really enriched my journey. So how can you put this into action? Well, here's something you can do today. I want you to take a moment and reflect on the dreams, the current challenges, and the people in your life that need bold prayers. And then I want you to write them down. I use a little card that's tucked in my Bible. And then as you pray for them, I want you to draw a little circle around them. Just a commitment to pray over them consistently, to consistently draw that circle. No, there's no special power in the circle, but there is intentionality in consistent prayer. And as you pray these prayers, I want you to remember that bold prayers don't just change circumstances, they change you too. Now let me leave you with this thought. God is honored by big dreams and bold prayers because they reflect a heart that trusts in His power and in His promises. I think the Circle Maker has been a great reminder of this for me, and it's one of the 25 books that have changed my life. I can't wait to share the next one with you. I'll see you then.